All right, good morning. Let me see if I can adjust this. We're off to a great start. We now have, if you count today, 4 days until we vote in probably what it will be, at least so far, the most important election of all time in our lifetime. However, you want to say it, it is a very, very important time in American history. And as we go through that, I am reminded by Kirk Cameron. This is a great new book here, Born to Be Brave, that everything begins and ends with Jesus Christ. It always should come back to that. That has been a big challenge. Um, with my writing, that's been a big challenge, and I just love the way that Kirk Cameron is able to articulate these things in a very, very positive way. As I finish this book, because I really wanted to finish this before I get into my next one, I found something very interesting on page 113 that I just wanted to read, just to remind myself. Over time, this is what Kirk Cameron writes. Over time, though, that Bible centralism has faded. If you want a bellwether for this trend, look no further than how our universities have decoupled from Christianity over the years. This is an interesting listen to this. This is crazy. Of the first 108 colleges in America, 106 were formed by Christians, often for the preparing of ministers. This included the earliest college, Harvard, whose original motto read, quote, "Truth for Christ and the church," end quote. Over the years, the motto has shrunk to, quote, "Truth," end quote. Today, our universities are some of the most anti Christian and least free places in our nation. To many academics, the Bible is, to borrow their jargon, a tool for patriarchy and systemic racism and misogyny that could use a trigger warning on practically every page. And people pay a lot of money to send their kids to these schools, these Ivy League colleges, but I had no idea about Harvard. I had no idea about the 106 colleges, first colleges. But for Harvard to change their motto and take Christ out of it kind of shows you exactly where this country is at today. And it's sad. And Kirk Cameron and others are trying to promote an awakening, a Christian awakening for what they call the family of faith, is what they call it. Focused on Jesus Christ, how it should be, how it was meant to be, and the only way that we can survive in this world is with Jesus Christ. That's just a very simple fact. Now, it was nice to hear the other day President Trump and Kennedy, once again, both on the same stage, not the same time, but that's okay. On the same stage with Tucker Carlson. And before Trump got up there, Kennedy spoke for about 30 minutes or so. Great interview. Great interview if you have not, or not interview, great speech if you have not seen that. So just when I think, okay, this is where the book will end, this is where the book will end. Obviously, the book's going to end with whatever happens on election day or election week or election month if it goes the way of 2020. But hopefully, we will know this Tuesday who the winner is. And we go from there. And we know that whatever it is all in God's plan. We have our own plans, and sometimes they work out, sometimes they don't. My plan was to see Kennedy and Trump on the same ticket, running as president and vice president. That didn't happen, but got pretty close. Got them both on the same team. That was pretty good. That's enough for me. And put Kennedy in the right spot. Vice president, kind of a sitting duck spot. A lame duck, not a sitting duck. Hopefully not a sitting duck, especially with what happened to the other Kennedys. Not a sitting duck thing, but a lame duck spot, the vice presidential spot can be. But putting Kennedy in charge of health, putting Elon Musk in charge of government spending, and cutting it, reducing it. And then where does Tulsi Gabbard fit in? What is she going to be? Maybe some military spot, I would say, since she is an active duty person in our military. She could slide right into one of those high profile Pentagon spots, I would think. Secretary of Defense comes to mind. So we'll see. We'll see where everybody ends up, where they all land. But it's been a lot of fun to read this. But it's a quick read too. It's a quick read. I got two versions. I got one signed by Kirk Cameron, then I got this one here that I've been reading. But it's a good read. I recommend it for any Christian, and for anyone who's kind of on the fence or open to Christianity. If you really want to get a good view, a quick view, 150 pages. And it's a good read. And there is a lot of stuff where he talks about dinos, Democrats in name only. He talks about rhinos, Republicans in name only, and he talks about crinos, Christians in name only, which really hurt me, really hit me hard here too. But then he talks about the trans, and he talks about how he was on Piers Morgan back in 2012. And was talking about gay marriage and how that's wrong, same-sex marriage, same-sex relationships, how all of that is wrong, and standing up for it and saying, well, this is what the Bible says. The Bible tells us this. This is why. So those things, Kirk Cameron has been very consistent for a long time, 20, 30 years or so. And he says, when I went on that show, people distance themselves from him. His Growing Pains cast members, he doesn't say exactly which ones, but everybody was running the other way. And it's like, okay, well, either you believe the Bible is true or you don't. You don't want to have it half-ass. Either be all in for Christ or don't be in, because Jesus talks about that. Do not be lukewarm. Be all in. Be on fire for Christ there. Now, lots of things happening today. Again, we're only a few short days away. I'm going to pull up. It's so nice to not have that little duck in the screen there. I got it for a week at least, and then we'll be back to normal. And I don't know where any of this is going to go. I don't know, how much longer I'm going to be doing things like this, doing podcast shows like this. I don't know why my mic or my camera seems to be tweaking out a little bit. It's doing a little dance. That is coming through on there. Okay, so I am going, and it could just be because I'm trying to connect here. Let's see if that does anything, if that fixes anything or not. And let me just check my camera. Okay, seems okay now. I guess it was just when I switched back and forth. All right, so lots of stuff to cover, obviously, but we can look at some of the things happening on Fox News. Or I think it's better to start with the two main guys here, Kennedy and Trump, to see what these two guys are doing. So let's go take a look at what's happening in the Kennedy-verse, where he is. I really want to see the interview, or it looks like he did some type of panel. Here's some of that with Chris Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly. I want to play this. This is about a minute or so. This is good. This is on the YouTube channel too. Let me just maximize this and play this for a second here. It's probably better quality on YouTube. That's okay. We're here.
What can you tell people who don't believe that Trump would be committed to something like that? That once he gets in there, who knows what he's going to do, but he's never been about everybody's health before. Why would he be about it now?
What President Trump did after I made that agreement with him is he's kept his word about everything so far. He did things that I didn't ask him to do. He put me on the transition team. Most transition teams don't start to the day of the election because they're paid for by the GAO. And what President Trump said to me is, he said, last time in 2016, I came into office and I had no idea how to govern. And I was immediately surrounded the day after the election with all these big corporate people and corporate lobbyists. And they said, appoint this guy, appoint that guy. And he said, I did it. And they were a bunch of bad people. That was, how he says bad people.
Yes.
Well, as we said, people like John Bolton and the head of NSA and all of these other people, corporate lobbyists who came in and ran our agencies, which I was a huge critic of. And he said, I'm not doing that this time. I care about my legacy. I want to leave a country that's healthier. This is an existential threat to the American people. And he said, I want to end it, and I want to leave as my legacy to the American people the end of the chronic disease epidemic and make us again, like when I was a boy, the healthiest nation in the world.
Very good. So you gotta love it. It's so weird to now see, and I like seeing it, but it is strange to see Kennedy and Tulsi Gabbard doing these speeches and these town halls, and then you see the Trump Vance sign. It's awesome. It's great. Um, so let's see. Yeah. So that is just one. Then let's go over and look at what is happening in the Trump verse, because there's always something interesting happening over there on Truth Social. I can't keep up. I can't watch all of his speeches. I just don't have the time. He's doing 2 or 3 a day. JD Vance is out there doing 1 or 2 every day. Kennedy's out there. Tulsi Gabbard is out. Elon Musk now is doing his own. I just can't keep up with them. There's too many, but it's great. I would not have it any other way. Here is what Trump posted about an hour or so ago. On my way to North Carolina to speak to a crowd so large that it goes beyond the beautiful horizon. And this after a huge rally in Milwaukee, in the great state of Wisconsin last night, in front of over 30,000 American patriots. Low energy Democrat candidate Lion Kamala Harris was also in Milwaukee yesterday, spending millions of taxpayer dollars on the trip. Interesting. All to speak in front of only 900 people, and most of them were my supporters. They witnessed a person who is totally confused and tired. She is a low IQ individual, not equipped to be president, and that's why she can't draw a crowd. We have people lining up for days all over our soon to be magnificent nation. Kamala is slumping to the finish line, yawning, shrieking, and cackling while I am working 24/7 to win this election so we can save our country and make America great again. Very cool. I like it as usual. All right, so those are the 2 latest things that both people have posted, Kennedy and Trump. Lots of other stuff, as you can see, going on, but those are just 2 of the main things. You got to watch the show, the full show of Kennedy and Trump on the Tucker Carlson show, which is on Tucker's YouTube channel. I'm sure it's everywhere else too. But that was a very interesting way. And you always think they keep saying this closing statement, and it's like there ain't no closing statement from Trump or Kennedy. You're not going to see any, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep going on, even to election day. And as more votes are being counted after election day. So the closing argument, the closing statement is not going to end for the Kennedy and Trump campaign, or Trump and Kennedy campaign, I should say. But again, God is in charge. Look what we got. We got on August 23rd. It's a great day. Unity Party was born officially. It became, maybe unofficially, I guess, but it's there. And we got a good, solid team here. It's not about Republicans, not about Democrats, as you can see, but it is about doing the right thing for this country. So with that, I want to look a little bit on YouTube and look at Fox News, because there's a lot of Liz Cheney stuff today. So I see a lot of this Liz Cheney stuff. I want to play this Tulsi Gabbard. That's always good. But why is there so much stuff about Liz Cheney? What is Liz doing now? Liz, come on, Liz. All right, let's play some Tulsi here. Of course, they're going to give the commercial. Let's see. 720. They only do 720 for some reason. Here we go.
Campaigning for Donald Trump in battleground and blue strongholds.
In the last 2 weeks, she's visited more than a dozen states, reaching out to Democrats who are disaffected with Kamala Harris.
Here to tell us what she's seeing and hearing on the ground is Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi, so great to have you on this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you so much.
So it's been fascinating to see how the Trump campaign is being very strategic about how they're using you and RFK and deploying you out to places that are blue, like in Wisconsin, in that Madison area. But you've been with the campaign for quite a while. What have you been seeing, and what kinds of things have been changing as you've gone along in these months on the campaign?
Well, there's a lot of energy building, that's for sure, and it's palpable on the ground. I just want to share some of the really incredible and unique experiences we've had. That event that we just held in Madison, Wisconsin a few days ago. At every one of these events that I've been doing with Bobby Kennedy, I asked the audience, raise your hand if you're a Democrat or a former Democrat. And in almost every event, somewhere between 35 to 50% of the room will raise their hand. It was no different in Madison. The cool thing was this, though, when their hands went up, there's probably a couple thousand people in the hall there. The rest of the audience started to turn around and look around, and they all stood up and cheered and welcomed them and just surrounded them really with love and kindness. And I had so many people come up to me at the end of that saying, I came in here afraid. I've never been to a political rally before. I didn't know what to expect. I'm a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, never voted before, different variations of this, but each walking out saying, I'm voting for Donald Trump because of what I experienced here today.
Beautiful.
You know, Tulsi, when Mark Cuban says Donald Trump doesn't like to surround himself with smart, intelligent, independent women, it's hard not to see that's a direct shot at Kellyanne Conway, Kayleigh McEnany, Linda McMahon, a whole host of other women as well, including you, Tulsi. It seems like it's a direct shot at someone like you.
There's actually something much darker that he is implying there, because the premise of his statement is that he believes that Liz Cheney and female warmongers like her are what defines strong women. They are hypocrites and cowards, because when you look at people like Liz Cheney, she is eager to send our troops into harm's way. She is eager to advocate for more stupid wars, but she and other warmongers like her will never volunteer to put their lives on the line for these military adventures they're advocating in. I just finished a couple of days of Army Reserve duty at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and yesterday morning I stood there on the graduation field and saw a few hundred brand new soldiers graduating from basic training, probably 1,000 family members there to celebrate them. And it was so moving. And I was thinking about people like Liz Cheney when I was watching them, because these are the young men and women who will pay the price, potentially with their lives, if people like Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, and Kamala Harris are allowed to be in power. This is one of the many reasons why I'm so strongly advocating for and supporting for President Trump to go back to the White House, to end wars, not start them.
Exactly right. The closer you are to it, the more serious you should be about how you utilize those young souls. Tulsi, real quick, where are you going in the closing days? Where will you be hitting the trail on behalf of the campaign?
We got about 72 hours until Election Day. I was just looking at the schedule. I will be in Georgia later today, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and North Carolina before Monday night.
Before Monday night.
All right.
There we go.
Well, thanks for being with us this morning, Tulsi. We appreciate
Thank
you
you
being
so
on Fox
much.
Friends.
Good to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click
That was
here to
great.
subscribe to the
always
Fox News YouTube page to catch our hot.
Still active in the military. She's got to play a role in Trump's military. I think that's just a no-brainer. There's another thing on Kennedy's Twitter, X. I don't know if I can ever get used to calling it X. I'm going to play this about 3 minutes or so. I don't know if it... Okay, it's not showing yet. There we go. This is good.
When Bobby Kennedy got out of the race, right, and ultimately endorsed my father, I think every person listening to us right now should go listen to it, because it was maybe one of the great takedowns of what's happened across his life and the way they tried to weaponize the system to kind of screw him.
It was
right?
phenomenal.
It was. I would listen to it every single day because he was so perfect, right? And I have such immense respect for him.
16 months ago, in April of 2023, I launched my campaign for President of the United States. I began this journey as a Democrat, the party of my father, my uncle, the party which I pledged my own allegiance to long before I was old enough to vote. I attended my first Democratic convention at the age of 6 in 1960. And back then, the Democrats were the champions of the Constitution, of civil rights. The Democrats stood against authoritarianism, against censorship, against colonialism, imperialism, and unjust wars. We were the party of labor, of the working class. The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. Our party was the bulwark against big money interests and corporate power. True to its name, it was the party of democracy. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. When it abandoned democracy by canceling the primary to conceal the cognitive decline of the sitting president, I left the party to run as an independent. Last summer, it looked like no candidate was willing to negotiate a quick end to the Ukraine war, to tackle chronic disease epidemic, to protect free speech, our constitutional freedoms, to clean corporate influence out of our government, or to defy the neocons and their agenda of endless military adventurism. But now one of the two candidates has adopted these issues as his own, to the point where he has asked to enlist me in his administration. I'm speaking, of course, of Donald Trump. His son, his biggest donors, his closest friends, all support this objective. Ultimately, the only thing that will save our country and our children is if we choose to love our kids more than we hate each other. That's the spirit on which I ran my campaign and that I intend to bring into the campaign of President Trump.
Amen.
Instead of vitriol and polarization, I will appeal to the values that unite us, the goals that we could achieve if only we weren't at each other's throats. The most unifying theme for all Americans is that we all love our children. If we all unite around that issue now, we can finally give them the protection, the health, and the future that they deserve. Thank you all very much.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful message from one of the greats in this country right now. The world needs that. Not just this country, but the world, because where the country goes, that's usually where the world goes too. That's why they want to turn this country into a globalist state, pretty much, so that the whole world becomes global. And they tried it, and they've been trying it, and they thought that because they have Barack Obama in there, I really think they thought this was our chance. It's going to work. We're going to use this black guy and trick the whole world. And if anybody says anything, then we're just going to label them as a racist because Obama said it, Obama did it, and if you don't like what he says, then you must not like black people. That was kind of the motto that I saw back then, and it was pretty easy to see through it. And I think over time, a lot of people who were tricked by it didn't end up seeing through it and seeing that, you don't vote for somebody because they're black. You don't vote for somebody because they're white. You don't vote for somebody because of their skin color, because of their gender. You vote for who you think is the best person for the job. It should always be like that. There should be no exceptions. No one should be bullied into voting a certain way. No one should be chastised for voting for who they want to or be attacked for who they want to vote for. We just can't have that. So I love when Tulsi Gabbard does that and talks about that and asks people to raise their hand and show, are you a Democrat, Republican, independent? They all love Trump. Libertarians do too. It's the Green. I'm sure there's people within the Green Party that do too. If they're paying attention to what he's doing, to what he's saying, to what he has done, to what the message is, and to how the people are responding to President Trump, and how little he has to do in order to get a big crowd out there, and how diverse the crowds are, and how nobody's leaving these rallies and they're lining up for a long time. I would never do that. I consider myself a huge Trump supporter. I don't like standing in any lines. I like standing in line for coffee. So I'm not going to go and stand in line for a day or 2 days and wait just to get close to see President Trump. I could sit here from my home, from my man cave, from my office here, from my mom's basement. I could sit anywhere and I could watch President Trump speak. There's always a way. It's always possible. But he's just doing way too many rallies. I just cannot keep up with it. It's too much. It's way too much. And I'm not complaining, even though it probably does sound like I'm complaining. So let's see. Trump has a lot of new videos out here. He doesn't have anything from the Tucker Carlson one yet. I'm hoping he'll get some of that out. But I do want to play a few of these little short videos that Trump has. We got to start with Hillary. That's always a great place to start, right? So let me just do that, over that, like that. Make sure we got the best quality. 1080p, it's always good.
Together we will fight, and we will win. We're going to win.
You don't have to look very far to find Donald Trump ahead nationally.
We have 50 million ballots already been cast.
Wow.
Trump Force 47 volunteers who have been establishing relationships with these new voters.
We get out those low propensity voters.
And I'm increasingly suspicious that the Trump campaign has a secret plan to turn people out.
The most unified, most organized effort on the right that has ever existed to mobilize and get out the vote.
For the past 9 years, we have been fighting against the most sinister and corrupt forces on earth.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
With your vote in this election, you can show them once and for all that this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you. It belongs to you.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
President Trump has expanded the party. A ton of people have joined the party in the last 4 years expressly to vote for him.
Democratic wedding will reach epic proportions.
The Republicans are kicking our ass at the early voting.
And we're going to keep turning out our voters all the way until the polls close.
Remember, Kamala and Sleepy Joe, they broke it. I will fix it, and we'll fix it fast.
Very cool. Well, it's another great little video there. Oh, did I find something here? Ah, yeah, here's a good one.
Smithy is changing the way you think about
it. But that's great. Everything Trump is doing. 4 days until we it is an amazing time to be alive right now. Very curious to see where all this goes, because where this story goes, that's where the book is going to go. So is it going to end with a happy ending with Kennedy and Trump going to the White House together, holding hands, locking arms, carrying one another, perhaps driving a dumpster truck into the White House? Or is we just going to get 4 more years of the same old? We'll see. We'll see. And I do believe the voter fraud will play a huge role in that. So it's great to see the Kennedy team and the Trump team getting out there to get out the vote, to get people out to vote. And Trump said, he's not so worried about getting people out to vote. He's worried about getting people to watch the voting counts. And that is a big deal. That one clip said 50 million people in this country have already voted. I believe there's 250 million eligible voters. I have not voted yet. I will be voting on Tuesday Super Tuesday, as I always do, in person. And I look forward to that. And I'm curious because I'm seeing some videos of people who are showing up to go and vote, and they're being told to take off their hats or take off their shirts, something like that. So I'll be curious to see what my polling booth does, because I will be wearing this shirt there, and I'll wear a shirt underneath it just so I don't scare everybody if I do have to take my shirt off to go vote. But I will be voting, and I will be looking forward to a second Trump term. This time doing it right. The redo must be better. But you can clearly see that Trump, when Kamala Harris says Trump is a threat, it's like, who is he a threat to? He's a threat to people who want globalism in this country. He is a threat to the New World Order. He is not a threat to people who want to put this country first. He just isn't. Either way, he's going to have some legal battles to deal with, which is stupid too. And so there needs to be something done about that. It's like they didn't put George Bush in jail. They didn't go after him or Dick Cheney for what they did, the war crimes that it seems evident to me that they are guilty of, getting us into this war, lying about the Iraq war. If any president or vice president or anyone should be sitting in jail, it should be those two. And, Trump had the opportunities to possibly even put Hillary Clinton in jail and didn't do it. And now they come after him. So you can see the double standard, but he made the right choice. He made the right choice in not doing that. Let God deal with them. Let God deal with it. So, but also, that's what the court systems, the legal systems are there for. They're not to be used in the way that the Democrats are using them to go after a political opponent. And you could argue about the crimes and all this, but it's the timing that you just cannot get away from. The timing that they went after Trump, how they went after him, and after he announced that he was running again. All of a sudden, he's got 92 indictments or something for cases that he's fighting. I believe he's going to win them all. It's all just a distraction. And what do you do with those prosecutors? What do you do with those people who went after Trump? What can you do about them? Can you put charges on them, federal charges on them? How does that work? Do we have another RICO thing? They want to go after Trump for a RICO trial. Would this be a RICO where you have all of these people who created all of these cases against Trump? Can they be tried as some type of organized crime unit or something for what they've done? We'll see. But more importantly is to get the country back on track. And that will be the first thing. And then I hope Trump, at least in the last year or so of his second term, will do things to make sure that what happened to him doesn't happen to a president in the future. We can't have things like this. Not only is it election interference, it is a national security issue. To go after President Trump like this should have been a big national security issue that Biden, if he was a real president, would have dropped the hammer on it and said, no, don't even do it. Don't even go there. I will pardon him if you guys do anything like that. And to be honest, Trump may do that too. If put the shoe on the other foot. If Hunter Biden ends up going to jail, is there a chance Trump will pardon Hunter Biden? That's possible. That's possible. And I think that's one of the reasons why Joe Biden has not stepped down from office, is he's kind of waiting to see what happens with his son, Hunter. But whatever it is, it's a strange time. And whatever happens, Joe Biden will still be the president for a couple more months, or still be in office, still be in the White House, I guess. And the other question is, remember back in 2020 when Trump wanted Mike Pence to send the votes back to certify, instead of certifying the 2020 election, Trump wanted Pence to send it back to the states. and Pence didn't do it. What if Kamala Harris does that? What if Kamala Harris, as a vice president, doesn't certify those votes? What happens then? Lots of variables that could happen between now and January. Also, if the Democrats win the House and the Senate and Trump wins, we got more impeachments that will be happening too. So, you know, winning is just the beginning here. So this is all just getting started, but we'll see what happens. We'll see where all of this goes. All right, I did also find a pretty cool clip here. Hopefully I'll be able to play it. We'll see. We'll know in a few minutes. And I'm just going to play some of this. Tucker Carlson asked Trump what roles RFK Jr. and Elon Musk might play if he wins.
So you've expanded and changed the Republican Party. And one of the amazing things that I have learned is the Republican voters really care about issues I didn't realize they cared about, like clean air, clean soil, clean food. You've won somehow the full-throated endorsement of Bobby Kennedy, lifelong Democrat, who's now like a full-time surrogate for you.
He's a very, very good man too, by the way.
So what's that going to look like after you get elected?
Well, you know, I feel interesting about this kind of stuff. I like to, number one, get elected. I hate to talk to stuff. A lot of people, they set up, I know that even when I ran, Hillary had an office set up where they were interviewing all the, I don't want to do that. I want to get elected first and then we'll cram a little bit. But, you know, I don't like doing it. No, I remember she set up this big office. They're interviewing people for jobs. And actually you're supposed to do it, but I want to win. I want to win in 5 days from now. It's almost 4 days from now, right? In 5 days from now, when we have a victory, we're going to have the best people. Here's the one difference, one big difference between now and 2016. I know Washington and the people.
Oh, I hate
through testing, real testing, better than probably any human being that's ever hired people. So I went from not knowing anybody and having to rely on, in all fairness, Mike Pence and many other people. I had Mike Pence and I had others, and they would recommend people. Sloppy Chris Christie recommended some people. And I wouldn't have used him had I known, but you rely on people. And by the way, you know, I hate talking about this because we had mostly great people. Think of it. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We rebuilt the entire U.S. military. We defeated ISIS and we had no wars. We cut more regulations than anybody in the history of the country times 5. And, you know, but we had the best economy in the history of our country. I took in billions and billions of dollars in taxes and tariffs from China. I mean, we had an unbelievably successful administration. We were energy independent. We didn't need anybody's energy. We had so much oil, we didn't know what to do with it. And now take a look. 4 years ago, we were energy independent. Think of it. And today we're taking tar from Venezuela. You know, they don't really have oil, they have tar. You have to heat the hell out of it. It costs you more to heat it than it does to sell it. But we are going to Venezuela. Think of it. Venezuela was like the enemy. We are now giving, you know, I got a kick a month ago. You saw it. They foreclosed on his plane, but they give him billions of dollars. I said, that's okay. He's going to buy a much better plane with the money we give him, right? But we go to Venezuela for oil. We were energy independent. We have more liquid gold, that's oil and gas, under our feet than Saudi Arabia, than Russia. And we were going to be not only energy independent, within 6 months, we were going to be energy dominant. We started off at number 4. And when I left, 4 years later, we were number 1. We were much better and bigger than Russia or Saudi Arabia. Think of that. But we were going to be triple the size of both. And we were going to supply it to Europe. We were going to supply it to Asia. All over the world, we were going to supply. We would have made a fortune. But then we had a little mishap with the election where I got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country. You do know that. More than any sitting president. The only one that supposedly got more votes, and I wouldn't believe it, was Sleepy Joe Biden, who campaigned brilliantly from his basement. People had no interest in this guy, but he got more votes than anybody in the history of the United States of America. So anyway, so bad things happened, but we had something going that nobody had. I mean, we had an unbelievably successful administration, but I also put in some people that in retrospect I wouldn't have used, but I had to rely on other people for recommendations. Now I know everybody. I know the dumb ones, the smart ones, the weak ones, the strong ones. I think I know everybody. And I've got people that I think will be great. With that being said, you pick people and sometimes they disappoint you. Everybody knows that. And then you pick people and sometimes they turn out to be better than you thought. But for the most part, I tell you what, I think we have some incredible people in Washington. We really do. We have some great people. And I now know, I believe, for the most part, I know who those people are.
Do you think Bobby Kennedy and Elon Musk will be influential figures, without being specific about what those roles will be, in your administration?
Yeah, I do. I think so. Look, Bobby, let's talk two of them. Elon's so good. You know where he is right now? He's in Pennsylvania campaigning for me. Elon, that rocket ship, right? No, it's so great. He docked that big monster, 22 stories. I thought the sucker was going to be, it's a very crazy story. I mean, I saw it coming in on television. I was talking to I told the story tonight, but I thought it was I'm talking to this very important guy, not as important as Tucker, but important. A big shot. Somebody everybody would know. Talking to him, I'm bored, stiff. He's a boring guy.
Oh, who is he?
So anyway, no, I'm talking to this very big shot, important guy, and I have the television muted. This thing's going on. The whole thing was really boring. Then I see this monster thing coming down. I see fire all over, fire left, right, and I'm looking. I'm saying, "Hey, could you hold it a minute?" Yeah, sure. I said, yeah, I just want to see something. I put the phone down.
Climate problems are increasing. Cold and snowstorms are becoming a problem. Don't worry, the portable kinetic molecular heater is here.
I sort of forgot, and I didn't pick him up for like 50 minutes, and 5-0. And you know what? Because of the fact that I was president, and I very well might be president again, he held on the whole time. Can you believe it? But it's true. I pick the phone up. I say, oh, shit, the phone. Hello? Hello? He goes, hello? The poor guy. But I had to see this. And I turn it on. I see the. Now, you have to understand, it left. I saw it leave, and it was beautiful white paint. Now it's coming down, and it's just dark brown. It's coming down at 10,000 miles an hour or something. I think it's 10,000. It's coming down at levels of speed that nobody ever even conceived of. And it's all burned and where it's rough. But it's coming, and now it's turned around. It turns around. And you have the gantry, the big, beautiful gantry. And it's coming, and it's going to, I said, oh, it's going to crash, because you see at that bottom, this section right here, that sucker's. Oh, I'm going, come on, baby. Come on. And I didn't know, actually, if I'm watching a science fiction movie or am I watching the news, I didn't know what the hell I'm watching. But I see this thing coming down, and all of a sudden it's going into the steel, the big steel gantry up here. It goes to things like 20 stories tall, too. It's going to crash. I said, oh, shit, it's going to crash. Coming down. And the lower section, right, it's coming right, it's ready. And then all of a sudden, whoa, fire, flames come pouring out of the lower section. It's jets. And they're pushing it over right here. And then it comes down. And I'm saying, I mean, is that the coolest thing you've ever seen, right? Is that the coolest? If you don't think I want a guy like that working for us, so, you know, we've got to cherish our brilliant people. They don't treat him right. We've got to cherish our brilliant people because we don't have too many of them. Nobody does. Nobody does. So Elon, talk Elon first. Elon wants to, by the way, I'm having a great time up here. Are you having a good time? This guy. Is he the greatest interviewer? He asked me one little question. I talked for 20 minutes and they're going to say he's better than Larry King.
That is true. And that's what makes Tucker Carlson so great. Why his interviews are so great is because he will just let people talk. He talks to President Trump like they're just having a regular conversation, which is awesome. That is what is needed. Tucker knows how to do that. And Trump just makes a great joke about it. And Trump is really good at that. Okay, let's continue on.
King at his prime, right?
It's an easy job.
Is that the greatest?
You're an easy interview.
He is great at what he does. There's few like him, I will tell you that. So with Elon, here's a theory, and he's right, that there's unbelievable waste and fraud. Like I saved much more than $1 billion when I came into the White House in one day when I said I'm not going to pay that much to Boeing for Air Force One. And they ended up taking like much more than $1 billion off the price. It took about a couple of weeks, saying I'm not buying it. No, I don't want it. But there's a plane that you're saving much more than $1 billion. And you've got thousands of things like that. Not as much, and in some cases, much more. They're building an aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford. The thing came in like at $20 billion for a boat, $20 billion. And it doesn't work because they decided to use electric catapults that throws the planes off instead of steam. They decided to go electric. Why are they people that going all electric? By the way, I'd end the electric mandate on cars day one. You should have electric, but you got to have gasoline. You got to have everything. That'll come off on day one. Many things will be done on day one. Your head will spin when you see what's going to happen, the stupidity. But what I like about Elon, Elon's a great cost cutter. And Elon thinks he can cut the costs of our government by $2 trillion. That's the entire deficit, because it's.
Another interesting thing about that, the $2 trillion, Elon Musk's mom was on Fox News the other day saying that she thinks Elon is being nice and being conservative, that he can cut a lot more. That's a lot of money to cut. That's a lot of government waste. And we've heard about government waste for years and years and years. They've all talked about it. But let's see if they can actually do something about it. I mean, it would just be so great, so experimental, so different to get these guys in there and these gals in there, get the Trump team in there, the Unity Party in there, and see what they can do, see what they can do, how they can do it. And we already have the media that will hold their feet to the fire, that will criticize them at every turn. Let's get them in there. It'll be a good check and balance to see the Unity Party in the White House making all of these moves, and then the hateful corporate media will be a great check and balance for them to make sure that they do what they say that they are going to do, that they were going to do. It will hold their feet to the fire. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great for this country. It will make America great again, but it's all in God's hands. It's not up to us ultimately. I'm going to continue playing a little bit more of this, see how far we get. It's only about 7 minutes more.
Now at a level, by the way, we have the biggest deficit we've ever had under this stupid group of people. But
are you still interested in the solar powered generator?
Oh, these
Pay
commercials.
special attention because I'm
Sorry,
going to do
Grace.
something
That's okay.
until
I don't mind.
he thinks he can cut $2 trillion without affecting anybody, just through, and I think he can do that. I do. I believe that. And that's really what he wants to do. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want to become a secretary of something. I mean, I'd love to have him, to be honest with you, but he doesn't want to. He's doing a couple of other things, you know, like rocket ships. You know, he sends 92% of the rockets that go up are his rockets. Think of that. Russia, China, and us, 92% are him. And he's the only one. I asked him, I said, are you the only one that can do that? He's the only one that can land it like that. And he said it'll be years before they can do it. He's a great guy. He wants to cut costs. That's what he wants to do. He wants to save the country. He said that if Trump doesn't get elected, the country is finished because, you know, he understands me. And I understand. I got to know him a little bit in the White House, but much more so over the last few months. He endorsed me. He gave me an endorsement that was so beautiful. He said, if Trump doesn't win, I think this country is finished. He's worried about the country. He's worried about it. He thinks he can save $2 trillion, in which case we don't have a deficit. I mean, the whole thing would be $2 trillion a year, by the way, a year. And I will definitely know Bobby is great. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about with Bobby, so I want him to work on health. And I think there's nobody like it. I mean, I think he's right with so much of the things he's talking about. Because, you know, we're not a healthy country. If you look at some of the countries in Europe, they're much more healthy than us. We're a rich country. I mean, you know, we got to get rid of a little debt, but that's okay. I've typically been very good at that. I've been very proficient at that. I've had it both ways. I've had a lot of debt and I've had very little debt. And as you get older, having very little debt is much better, believe me. But you know what? He really wants to, with the pesticides and the, you know, all the different things. I said he can do it. He can do anything he wants. He wants to look at the vaccines. He wants everything. I think it's great. I think it's great. The only thing I say to Bobby is leave the liquid gold under our feet alone. We want to have a little gasoline. Because you know what I'm going to do? We're going to unleash much of that. And we're going to, you know, Germany tried to go all green and they almost destroyed their country. And that was the end of Angela, by the way. That was it for Angela. They went all green. They had windmills all over the place. And the wind stopped blowing for a couple of weeks. And that was almost the end of Germany, actually. But the only thing, and I say it jokingly, but I say, Bobby, I love you looking at health. I want you to take care of the women of this country, the men of this country, and the children of this country. You don't have to worry about anybody else. But the one thing you got to do for me, Bobby, is leave what's under my feet, the oil and gas. You leave that to me, Bobby, because we're going to make so much damn money, and it's clean. It's going to make it clean. We're going to make, you know, look, China doesn't have that. That's why China's going electric. If we go electric, we're playing right into their hands. We have oil and gas. They don't. They have things for making the batteries and other things. They're going to make the electric cars. We're not going to be making the electric cars. The problem with the electric cars, and I think they're great in a smaller application, they don't go far. They cost too much, and they're going to be made in China. 3 minor problems, okay? But if you listen to this government, they want to make army tanks electric because they want to invade countries with their army tanks in a very friendly way from the pollution standpoint. The whole thing. You know what you have to do? The batteries are so big. They have a design where the army tank is going in and they have like a wagon, like a child's wagon with these massive batteries.
We're going to have these green wars?
These people are crazy. No, they want trucks to be all electric. The problem is they don't go far. That's the problem. You know what else is a problem? So the trucking industry comes to see me because they think I'm going to win. And they come in to see me. And these guys come in, and they're great guys. They've been in like Roger Penske. How good is Roger Penske? The guy's won.
6 reasons you need to get your pet official ESA approved. With Support Pets, getting your
But he's in the trucking business too. He's won like 19 Indianapolis 5. Think of how good this guy is. Japan spends billions on coming up with a race car. Germany spends billion. I don't know if they've ever won, maybe 1 or 2. Roger Penske is an incredible guy. He won 19 Indianapolis 500s. It might even be 20. That was 2 years ago. I gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom because I said he deserves it. After the 19th, I said he deserves it. But the truckers came in to see me. They say, sir, they want us to go all electric and it'll destroy the industry. Why? Because a truck is 2.5 times heavier if it's run by a battery. I said, that's not good. I don't like that. What does that do to the bridge? He said, how did you pick it up so fast, sir? Every bridge in the United States would have to be rebuilt. Every roadway would have, because they're not set for that kind of weight.
That's wild.
Little problem. They don't go far.
That's crazy.
Right? They only go. I said, how many times would you, New York to LA, how many times would you have to stop? 6 times, sir, 6. How many times would you have to stop if you loaded up with diesel fuel? We wouldn't have to stop at all, and we can come back a little bit of a ways too. I said, that's a problem. They have a lot of problems, right? Another problem is the battery is much bigger than the tanks of diesel. So it would take a lot of their payload out. You know?
That's crazy.
I said, have you explained this to the government? Yes. What do they say? We don't care. We want all electric. You know, I mean, these are problems that fairly short term are absolutely insurmountable, but the government is pushing them anyway. So we have to bring common sense back to our country. We have to have borders. We have to have fair elections. You know,
This is like what they tried to do in California with this rail system, and they spent millions of dollars, billions of dollars, I forget, but at least millions of dollars, and nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever came of it. It's supposed to be this high-speed rail system, and it just looks like this whole electric thing is just another one of those scams. It's a power grab. It's a money grab. And then at the end, they throw up their hands and say, it didn't work out. What about all that money that was spent? Where'd all that money go? It's a great way to funnel money. It's a great way to mask money. It's just, it's bad. And so this is another reason why you need a guy like Trump in office. You need a businessman in there, a successful businessman. And they give him crap about bankruptcies and stuff like that. But if you read his books, you'll get the other side of it. Read his book, The Art of the Deal, where he tells the bankruptcy stories and how he bought the company that was going down, went through bankruptcy, and then he was able to bring it back up. So he knows what he's doing. Bankruptcy is not the end for these companies. It is just a transitional period. And Trump is really good at that. He's really good at taking these garbage companies and turning them into something great. And we need that. Okay, this is a great one. I just saw this on the Fox News YouTube channel. I want to play this. I guess this is Trump here on the phone talking about Mark Cuban. So Mark Cuban, Liz Cheney, they're out there. Joe Biden, they're all out there for Harris. It just doesn't seem like it's going well. But let's listen in to some of this and see what they got to say.
To Puerto Rico than me. I saved Puerto Rico when they had some of the worst hurricanes, really bad. I brought in the hospital ship, the Mercy. I brought in this massive hospital ship. There's nobody, and Puerto Ricans will tell you that, nobody's done more for Puerto Rico than me. They made this one comedian telling one little joke early in the show when nobody had even started going into the arena practically. They made this comedian, and they made the whole weekend, and they took out this gorgeous, unbelievable, patriotic evening, and they sort of stained it a little bit by a comedian that I have no idea who he is. He's a man that was put there by very good people and well-meaning people. He mentioned Puerto Rico, and they made it like a big deal. These are professional people. And I always say, if they would use that genius, okay, because their genius for doing bad is quite good, actually. If they would use that to make America great again, we would have the greatest country. It would be so nice, and everybody would love them.
It
But they
doesn't.
don't.
It doesn't look like turning that comedian's joke into 3 days of a news cycle actually work. You know, the Hispanic polling, which we can show on the screen, is definitely trending in your direction versus Kamala Harris, the way that voters, Latino voters are looking to go. But speaking of demographics, by the way, Rachel and I were there at Madison Square Garden that night. We saw firsthand the environment. We saw firsthand the crowd. They're looking at demographics, Mr. President. They're looking at shaving off. We talked about Latinos. They're looking at women. That, you know, Pete mentioned we were at diners this week. I was in Georgia at a diner, and women talked about the economy, which you were just talking about. But what they want to talk to women about is, I don't know, the Handmaid's Tale. They want to make them think they should be afraid of their husbands. I want you to watch this ad that features Julia Roberts.
You can vote any way you want, and no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
It's about women lying to their husbands that they're actually voting for Kamala. Mark Cuban has suggested you don't surround yourself with strong, independent, intelligent women. What is your message to women?
Well, I know Mark very well. He's a very insecure guy. Can't hit a golf ball more than 50 yards. He's weak physically and mentally, as far as I'm concerned. But I've known him for a long time. He would call me in the White House incessantly. And finally, I just couldn't take his calls anymore. And then he went over to the other side. And he's a guy that wants publicity. When he said that, and you know, he's totally retracted his statement, like, you know, weak people always do. They retract their statements. But he was hit by some of the strongest, not human beings, women. He was hit by the strongest people that it wasn't men, women, it was women. He was hit by women that make men look like babies, because you know many of the women that I deal with and that I have, and I could go over the list, but the list is long, including the fact that I happen to be married to a rather strong woman who just right now is the #1 bestseller in the whole wide world in her book, Melania. So, no, I've surrounded myself with women. I've given women chances, too. I mean, I had Kellyanne as the head of my 2016 big victory. Susie Wiles is strong. You know, she's the daughter of Pat Summerall, right? Good genetics there. And I have tremendously strong. In fact, I've been actually accused of the other. They said, couldn't you get women that aren't as strong? I have more problem the other way until Mark Cuban came along. But, you know, Mark, I'm so disappointed at Julia Roberts, because I look, and she's going to look back on that and she's going to cringe that, did I really say that? It doesn't say much for her relationship, but I'm sure she has a great relationship. But the wives and husbands, I don't think that's the way they deal. I mean, can you imagine a wife not telling a husband who she's voting for? Do you ever hear anything like that? Even if you have if you had a bad relationship, you're going to tell your husband, it's a ridiculous thing. It's so stupid. She's going to look back someday and she's going to say, did I really make that? You know, they're into this thing. Look, I'm running against the worst candidate probably ever put up by a major party. She's grossly incompetent. She can't put two sentences together. And you take a look at the 60-minute piece. Seriously, look at the answers she gave. And now we want to see, by the way, whether or not they did that with other answers, and they refused to give us the papers. So we sued them. You know, I'm doing it for the people, but somebody has to do it. ABC is, I've always said, very corrupt. They asked me during the debate, this guy, what's his name, asked me so many questions, just always questions. He said, no, crime is down. I said, no, crime is up. Crime is down. I'm sorry. Crime is down. David Muir, he said, crime is down. I said, what's wrong with you? Crime's not down. Something. And he said, crime is down. Well, you shouldn't have done that. One day later, it was announced, hey, I have some friends in government, I guess. They announced the crime stats, and crime was up 45%, okay?
Right.
The news, I'll tell you what, to make America great, you really do have to get the news shaped up, because the news is an embarrassment to our country. And you look at the Washington Post, it's going bust. You look at the New York Times, it's doing so badly. But the Washington Post, everyone's quitting, it's leaving, everyone. It's like crazy what's going on there,
right?
Because they don't have credibility anymore. They have no credibility. And the media has to have credibility. And the media doesn't have It doesn't have any credibility.
No doubt.
Your show has a lot of credibility, by the way.
President Trump, I want to ask you one last question before we go. A lot of people don't know that the Harris campaign has spent 20 times more than your campaign on Hispanic media, and yet you are winning over Hispanics. What's your message to them? Why do you think you're resonating with them better than any other Republican president, really even surpassing George W. Bush?
Because I love Hispanics and I respect Hispanics, and they're great people. I mean, I happen to be talking to one right now, actually. But I love Hispanics, I do. And I love you, Rachel. But the fact is, they're great people. They're very energetic, tremendous entrepreneurial skill. I deal with Hispanics all the time. They can be tough as hell. They have great entrepreneurial skill. I mean, they're just smart, good. They love the country. You know, it's funny. When I said you need a wall, it turned out to be, I built 571 miles of wall. And you know who? Everyone said, you're going to lose the Spanish vote, the Hispanic vote. It's gone. If you do that, don't build it. Don't. I said, that's all right. I have to do what's right. You know who wants the wall more than anybody? The Hispanics, because they get it. They don't want to have people from prisons coming into our country like we do. You know that we've taken in the last 3 years under these two failed people, we've taken in 13,099 convicted murderers. Many of these people killed more than one person, okay? They're in our country now. They have emptied their jails and prisons and mental institutions and insane asylums. This is just degrees of the institution. But they've emptied their jails, their prisons, their mental institutions, their insane asylums. They've emptied them into the United States of America. Thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of people are major criminals. And who would do that unless you hate the country or are very stupid? I mean, there's only two reasons. You hate the country or you're stupid. And who would do that to our country? And, you talk about inflation and you talk about the bad job numbers and all of that. The worst job, I'll tell you what, it is a gift to me. I finally got a gift. I'm running against two people that just put out the worst job numbers, which is a big deal, the biggest deal, economically, the biggest thing that happened. They came out 5 days before an election. Think of that. I finally got a gift. Now, I hope people realize how bad this is. They're the worst numbers ever. But the Hispanic people are incredible people. But I just saw it. I was shocked to see it because Fox never gives me good polls. Never. They should get a new pollster because they're always wrong. But I just saw a poll, I assume it was a Fox poll, where I'm leading with Hispanics. If you go back and look at Mitt Romney, there's another real beauty, by the way. Go back and look at Mitt Romney and what did he have, like 5% of the Hispanic vote or something? And they had me down at 51 or something, 51, 52%. Mm-hmm. I was substantially leading a Democrat with Hispanic voters. And look at how well we're doing with the African-American population. But there is a number that's going to come up, and they're trying to hold it till after the election. And that's unemployment for black people. It is unbelievable what's happening to them. They're being decimated. The millions of people, and you hear it, and you don't read it in the news. They don't want to talk about it. They hide it, but they know it. It's coming. But they're trying to hide it till after the election. Black people in particular are losing their jobs to the migrants that are pouring into our country. Well, and by the way, the migrants are coming from all over the world, not just South America, but they're coming from all over the world. And the black people are losing their jobs. People that have had a job for 20 years, good job, good people, they have a house, they have a mortgage on the house, all that. They're being fired and being replaced with the people that are coming in, the migrants, coming in illegally into our country. And the other thing is migrant crime. The migrant crime is massive. It's at a level of viciousness. It is so vicious. You see it. I play it all the time. I play clips all the time. Jocelyn and I could give you right now in this call. I could give you 10, but thousands of people are suffering with this vicious migrant crime. But if you look at the black, you should demand it because they have the numbers, or they're very close to having the numbers. When those numbers come out, and here's the problem, they're going to come out right after the election. They're trying to hold it till after the election. The black jobs are being people with black jobs, black people that are working so hard and they've had jobs for 20 years, they're being fired and they're being replaced. And when you look at those numbers, it's going to make your job numbers look relatively good by comparison. It's a big problem.
Well, the numbers that we do have, Mr. President, are on the economy. It's like getting an F on your final report card on the most important subject of the year, and that's what has been delivered.
They just got an F. Thank you. That's a very good way of putting it.
Right, that's right.
Well,
Mr.
Mr.
Well, that
President,
was nice. I got help.
there we go. An F on the report card. Mr. President, we know you have a very busy day. You're very generous with your time, giving us a half an hour on Fox and Friends Weekend. We wish you luck on the campaign trail and safety as well, considering what you're up against. President Trump, thank you for your time.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling.
Letting up, and that's just seems to be his style. That's his way. Well, I've got this new book here. The reason why I've been trying to finish Kirk Cameron's book so quickly, only got maybe 20, 30 more pages to go, is because I want to get into this one. This is called Bulletproof. This is about the assassination attempts on President Trump. And I was skeptical because we're still having hearings. They're still finding out new information. But when I saw who the forward was by, Donald Trump Jr., I said, I got to get this because I am current. This will be the second part of the book that I'm writing. Part one focuses on Kennedy and Trump, their relationship together, the ins and outs, going after each other. And then it stops right before this assassination attempt. Part two covers the assassination attempt, how that brought Kennedy and Trump together. And then the third part is everything, all the awesome stuff that happened when the Unity Party was formed and they joined forces. So I'm so excited about it. But this will be great research for the part two. And I'm going to read the foreword here. I don't know how long the foreword is from Donald Trump Jr., but I'm going to read a little bit of that here. Hopefully it'll be not too long. So this looks good. And this is great too. They actually start the book. And I love when they do this with scripture here. Ephesians 6:11. Let me read that. Okay. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Whenever you see ye, it's probably the King James Version. Nothing wrong with that. But the ye's, the thous, sometimes the King James Version may seem a little bit off to some of us low IQ people like me. Well, I'm going to read this foreword here, and I'm really looking forward to this book, but not until I finish Kirk Cameron's Born to Be Brave. If you have not gotten that book, the audiobook will be out. Doesn't come out till December, which kind of sucks, but he will be narrating the whole thing. He also has a YouTube channel. And he has two. He has the one where the TBN, because he has a show on TBN, but he also is doing a series on YouTube and on Facebook, and it's about the Born to Be Brave series, and it is really good. It's short videos, 10-minute clips. He's got a podcast with the same thing, the American Campfire Revival. Just look up Kirk Cameron, Born to Be Brave. You'll find it. It'll pop right up, I'm sure. Follow him on Facebook. Follow him on YouTube and podcasts, because the podcast is really good. If you're just looking every morning, you can wake up, and he doesn't do shows every day, but you can wake up and just, if you need that spiritual oomph, that spiritual guidance like I do, it's definitely a great way to get your day started. Okay, let's read the foreword from Donald Trump Jr. for the book called Bulletproof. I'm so excited to read this. This one too, it looks big. It looks like there's a lot, but it's really not. I mean, the book is really only about, 100 and some odd pages, 180 pages, but you could see it does have like photos and things like that in it. So this is a great research document. It came out quick. Let's read this forward together, and we'll see how much I'm going to steal from this. Just kidding. Okay, forward by Donald Trump Jr. When you think about the life of Donald J. Trump, you might conjure up images of towering skyscrapers, reality TV, or the Oval Office. But there's a moment, a single heartbeat in time that encapsulates the sheer audacity, the unyielding spirit, and the raw, unfiltered essence of who my father is. That moment was on a warm July afternoon in Butler, Pennsylvania, when the first attempt was made on my father's life. As I write this, the memory of that day still makes my hair stand on end. Not out of fear, but because of the profound realization of what could have been. Here's a man who's been at the center of the storm, a lightning rod for attention of all kinds. Yet, when faced with death, his first instinct was to stand tall, fist in the air, not for himself, but for the nation he loves. That image of my father, bloodied but unbound, has become more than just a photograph. It's a symbol of resilience, of America's indomitable spirit. Then, just 2 months later, my father survived another attempt on his life while golfing on a Sunday afternoon. This book isn't just about the assassination attempts. It's about a testament to survival, to the will to fight back against those who would silence the voice of freedom. It's about the moments leading up to the shots, the chaos that ensued, and the aftermath that has left the indelible mark on our family, our movement, and our country. I remember getting the call that day in July. The world slowed down, and for a moment, everything was silent. Then, the rush of emotion, the fear, the anger, but above all, the pride in a father who, even in the face of death, stood for something greater than himself. Bulletproof, the name of the book, isn't just my father's story, it's America's story. A story of a man who, despite all odds, continues to fight for what he believes in, for the America he envisions. The attempts on his life were not just attacks on what he stands for, freedom, strength, and the unwavering belief in the American dream. As you turn these pages, you'll walk through the events with a perspective that only those closest to the situation could provide. You'll understand the security failures, the human errors, but also the heroism, the resilience, and perhaps even the divine intervention that played into what happened this summer. This book will delve into the investigation, inconvenient facts, the political fallout, and the personal impact on my father, those who attended the Butler rally, and on the nation. But more than that, it's a call to action, a reminder that the fight for America's soul is far from over. I invite you to join us on this journey, not just as readers, but as patriots, understanding that these attempts on my father's life were attempts to silence a voice that speaks for millions. This book is for those who believe in standing up, even when the odds are stacked against you, for those who believe in America, in its people, and in its future. Jack Posobiec and Joshua Lysak are doing just that by having written this book. Bulletproof. So in the spirit of my father, let's raise our fists to the sky, not in anger, but in solidarity, in defiance, and in the unbreakable will to see America great again. That was the foreword by Donald Trump Jr., written September 16th, 2024. This book just came out, I believe, October 25th or so. It literally just came out here. So I'm excited. I'm excited to read that. And of course, very excited about Born to be Brave as well. I really hope if you are a reader, if you're looking for good books to read, top of the list here. Quick read. If you didn't have kids screaming in the background, you may be able to get through Kirk Cameron's book within a couple of days. It's taken me a week so far. Yeah, well, a week, including work days and everything. But it's been a great journey. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to play one more video before I get out of here. And actually, we're going to set up our Christmas tree today. I always love to set it up right after Halloween to get the taste of Halloween out of my system. And I will be doing that very, very soon. So I'm going to play. There is one that I really, really like. I always love hearing RFK Jr. My wife has really gotten to like RFK Jr. We loved his speech at the Tucker Carlson live tour. So I'm going to play just this little clip that Kennedy has here. And of course, I'm going to start at the beginning. I like it. Take the mute. I don't know why the volume, it doesn't go all the way up for some reason. Come on, YouTube, work with me here. All right, here we go.
What is happening to our children? I saw this happening and I began writing about it, and the media rose up and silenced me in 2005. And nobody would talk about it. The doctors wouldn't talk about it. The pediatricians wouldn't talk about it. The scientists, the government officials. And people warned me, if you keep talking about this, you're going to destroy your career. And I was stunned by this. And for 19 years, since 2005, I spend 30 minutes praying every day when I get out of bed. And my prayer is this. I ask God for 19 years to put me in a position where I could end the chronic disease epidemic and bring health back to our children.
That is so beautiful. So beautiful. I absolutely love it. It doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any more real, any more spiritual than that. And it's something I don't do. I don't pray every day. I don't wake up in the morning. My friend Justin told me years ago, it's the first thing he does. And it's such a great thing. I wish I had the discipline to do that. I need to learn how to do that more. And I will. I will. It will start very soon. But I keep saying that I'm going to, and then I fail at it. So with that, I just want to say, God bless you all. Remember, Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. Till next time.